Warning: the following episode contains spoilers for Red Dead Redemption 2. Please proceed with caution. As a reminder, Around the Campfire is intended for a mature audience. However, members of the Cameo Gang are not fit for human consumption.
Hey folks, it's that time of year again. Mariah Carey has thawed from her icy prison.
Really?
Yes,
Really?
that
That's
is,
what we're going with? Okay.
yes, because it's November 3rd, which means 2 days ago, on November 1st, the sounds of Mariah Carey going, oh, has started to already play for every single retail worker out there. They know what I'm talking about. It's Christmas once again. We're completely skipping Thanksgiving, everything in between. It's Christmas now.
What are you talking about? If we're going by that logic, it's been Christmas since September.
Yes.
I know some people that put their Christmas trees up already.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
know.
normally I would have a complaint about that, but really I saw a post on Facebook that I think sums it up. It's 2020. The usual rules don't apply. So just do what you want. Put your Christmas tree up. Drink at 7 a.m. as long as you're of age. Do whatever you want.
I mean, you know, I think it'd be like a creative idea on that, to have like a 2020 themed Christmas tree instead of, like baubles and tinsel. You can have, dry pasta, toilet roll. Uh, that's if you've been stockpiling, because I know some people will be stockpiling.
Uh,
Mm,
well,
but
I
yeah,
mean,
make decorations out of dry pasta shells if you can find any.
oh, I thought you were gonna say, yeah, I thought you were gonna say, yes, have a 2020 themed Christmas tree, and I was like, oh, one that's on fire, and then you're like, oh, toilet paper and dry pasta, and I was like, oh, so not one that's on fire. Okay, no,
Well, it
I
could be
get
on
it.
fire,
Well, to
Everybody's
be fair,
individual tastes.
if we had a 2020 themed Christmas tree, it may not have started on fire, but it will end on fire.
Like, is the greeting was it was inspired because it's really is when I used to work at a um when I used to work at like a Bath and Body Works, as soon as it hit like November 1st, they would start playing Christmas music.
Ugh.
And then we'd have like start getting things for decorating for Christmas. They didn't send us anything for Thanksgiving. It was just like, let's get decorating for Christmas. And so by the end of November, the whole place would have been like Christmas, like out, like fake Christmas trees, tinsel, fake snow, cotton, stuff like that to pretend to be snow. And it was just like, oh God, oh, it's starting. It started.
It has
And the first
begun.
song, yeah, the first song that was always played was Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You. And that's why I was just like, she is the herald of winter.
You know, the worst part, like last year, I had to work Christmas overnight, which was
Hmm.
even worse because like we have music that plays overhead, and it was like I heard so many renditions of the exact same song, and it's like, guys, guys, can we like make a petition, or like I was in hour 3 of my 8-hour shift going, I'm going to make a petition that like people have to start creating their own Christmas music because I'm so sick and tired of hearing the exact same version of the same song.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the the warehouse that I was working at. Wasn't necessarily Christmas music, but it was just like when they started playing music over the radio. sometimes I used to think, are they kidding? Are they kidding me? Are they seriously choosing to have this song on in this place during a night shift? I was like going about my rounds, emptying bins and sweeping the floors, and then overhead I would be hearing, "I want to break free." I'm thinking, bastards, or under pressure. I was like, that's putting it mildly. And I'm thinking, I swear to God, I'm gonna go insane. I'm gonna beat people over the head with this wet floor sign.
At least you got to listen to Queen. Like, that's awesome.
I remember seeing a work colleague dancing away to Spice Girls when it was playing overhead.
I am well known in my workplace for my dance parties for one. And Crazy Little Thing Called Love by Queen came on. And I came out from around the desk and I started just dancing my little heart out in the middle of the middle of the front office, just having a party, and didn't care who saw me. And at one point, my manager walked out, took one look at me, and went, "All right," and walked away.
It's like, I see.
Dance party for one.
Speaking of Queen, if anybody ever gets the chance to see We Will Rock You on stage, I highly recommend it, especially if you're a fan of Queen. Because, well, I saw a touring production of it in Edinburgh back in October last year. Yeah, before everything went to pot, really, with theaters. Really good show. Really good show. Anyway, what
Then-
were we talking about again?
That
Christmas.
movie. Screw Christmas. That movie that was, what was it called? I think it's called Bohemian Rhapsody. The retelling of Freddie Mercury's life.
Yeah.
That was surprisingly good. Like, that was a surprisingly good movie, and the guy that played Freddie is phenomenal. Like, nailed
Rami
that.
Malek, wasn't it?
Yeah, like nailed that.
I've been meaning for the longest time to watch Rocket Man. Because I've heard a lot of the music, and Taron Egerton just blows out of the park. There's Elton John, obviously, so
I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, I really haven't seen it yet.
Fun fact: when I was a kid, I grew up with my dad listens to. Excuse me, I was trying not to burp directly into the microphone. Again. But my dad listened to a lot of like the 70s, 80s, rock, hair metal, things like that. And so I grew up on like Led Zeppelin and Def Leppard and Queen. And for some reason, of all of the bands that I grew up listening to, the two that I went towards was Ozzy and Queen. I loved them. But as a kid, I really loved Queen, to the point of I would be in my room like doing full theatrical performances of Bohemian Rhapsody. And let me tell you, as a 6-year-old, like jumping from furniture to furniture, singing Bohemian Rhapsody at the top of your lungs, you feel powerful.
I mean, you hear that and you have to hum along, or at least sing along, because I know that was that's like the encore number in the stage show of We Will Rock You, and the entire audience was going nuts and just singing along, and even I was singing along, and I can't sing for toffee, so
Honestly, if you listen to Bohemian Rhapsody and you don't try to sing all the parts and the instruments, are you even a Queen fan?
I mean, you hear the tune and you automatically go, "Mama,
Mama." And there you go, everybody. You just got bonus to other people singing. Haha. Sorry
why
about
the
that.
viewership's going down."
I think you guys will be fine. I mean, Mick wanted to do all of us singing Ring Dang Do. I think that would have been fine.
Who knows? That could be like a maybe a potential bonus feature at some point.
Oh God. Tell you what, if we ever meet Mick face to face, then we'll do it.
It's like we're gonna meet Mick face to face right now.
We are coming to you live from an airplane headed to New York.
Since we can't actually record on airplanes, this is us recording on our phones, and we're just sending them to Jackie, who's like, "I'll do it later, I guess." But we're
Look at one of
live.
us getting arrested at customs. I know my rights.
Yeah.
I know my rights.
Yep, that's right, guys. We're all recording individual parts, just anticipating what the other one's reaction's going to be, and I'm piecing them all together. So here's hoping that no one messes this up by saying something random.
But yeah, yes, today is November 3rd, which means that it is the last day of voting here in the United States. So Jackie and I've already voted. I voted back in September because I got an absentee ballot, so I had turned that in. And Jackie recently voted. You voted today, didn't you?
Yep, I voted today, bright and early. I wasn't there when the doors opened, but I got there by about 9 o'clock.
Yeah, so we voted, and I know by the time that this airs that it's going to be like Thursday, just a couple of days after the last day of voting. Well, no, the results actually won't be in. That's the thing, is because everybody's sending in absentee ballots and they're sending in the polling stuff and things like that. So they can't start counting until the last polling place closes, which is on the West Coast, which is, Hawaii. So the last polling place would close, and that would be close to maybe, I want to say 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, maybe West Coast time. So yeah, it's the last polling place has to close first, and then they can start counting. But because they're getting things sent in, it's gonna be like a couple of weeks before we know. Probably, like mid-November.
It's like one thing I've always found fascinating with elections, at least because obviously US elections and US politics is vastly different to the politics you get over here in the UK. But it's when they pull up the maps, and they can obviously say like the demographics of like the voting, whether it's like you see the different colors from I don't know if I'm making sense, but it's like,
you mean like the politics map where it's like blue and like red and things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get a little scatterbrained sometimes.
That's okay. We still love you.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, there are things called swing states, which are states where it could go either way. Or
also known as battleground states.
Yeah, like it's got the majority of the votes that they would need for the electoral college.
Yeah.
And so with those votes, it could push the election in favor or push it in the direction of who you don't want it to be.
Isn't California been predominantly blue for the last while? I think.
I
have no idea.
I think so. I think so. Most of the West Coast is going to be predominantly blue. Most of the East Coast is predominantly blue. Most of the South and parts of the Midwest are predominantly red.
Yeah.
Because it's like I said, it's kind of like that over here in the UK. Obviously, you've got the different political parties. Obviously, not to go off a complete tangent about UK politics, because I've got my opinions about that. But like one of the last elections up here in Scotland, anyway, because it's kind of a strange system. Because Scotland has its own parliament, but we've only got certain powers. Again, I could go on a whole rant about, independence and the likes. I've got my opinion about that. But you would see, obviously, they would bring up the map and you'd see areas that were in red, meaning Labour, like little pockets that were yellow, which means Liberal Democrats. Then there was blue, which meant Conservatives. Then there'd be like another colour for the Scottish National Party, the Green Party, the likes. And you would usually be able to tell like certain areas what their political allegiances are.
Yeah.
Which was weird because in one of the last elections there was a lot for one particular party, and I remember being quite shocked at seeing another party essentially almost being wiped out across the board, and I'm thinking, oh, didn't think I'd see that, but oh well.
I remember in the 2016 election, for the first time, live on, like, because they'll, like, all the news will have election results playing, and they'll show, like, as the ballots are being counted and all this stuff, it'll show the states flashing up either red or blue. And for the
Mhm.
Yeah.
first time on television, I watched Texas go blue. And I was like, oh my God. Now it eventually did flow back to red, but it was incredible to watch. That's not something I ever thought I would see on
Yeah.
television, because Texas has never been close. Not really.
Mhm.
It's always been predominantly a red state. But to see
Mhm.
it go blue for even an instant was just like, was mind-boggling. And don't worry, everyone, we're not going to spend the entire time talking about the election. We realize that by this point, especially, everyone is sick and tired of politics, and you're trying to escape from it. But it is a big event that's happening today, so we do feel like we have to spend at least a little bit of time talking about it.
I try to keep up even though I'm an outsider. So, but it's like I've said before. I think I've said before, but it doesn't matter, what country you're in, what state you're in. Yeah, people have got a basic right to be able to vote. And there's a lot of people out there in the world that don't have the opportunity to vote, either because, like restrictions in regards to, if they're living under like a dictatorship, or, you know, freedom of speech is being oppressed and the likes,
Yeah.
or in regards to like their gender or whatever, they're not allowed. Um, People should be mindful of they should be grateful that they've got the opportunity to do so, because many people don't.
That's true.
It's what I'm essentially trying to get to the point.
Well, and it's like, I remember, not so much this year, but definitely in 2016, there were a lot of people that didn't vote because, like, they didn't see the point of it, they didn't care, all that stuff. And it's like, okay, if you don't want to vote, that's fine. That is your right as an American citizen. However, if you don't want to vote, what you can do is talk to someone who no longer has that right and vote for them, vote on their behalf.
Mm. My mum, she always said that, it was, at least in her belief, and it was the same with my dad as well, that in order to be able to fully complain about the government, you have to at least have been able to vote. Because if you've not voted and you're complaining about the government or how things are being run, it's like, you know what, if you had voted, the people in power might not have been in power. You could have swayed in an election.
That's true.
And that's just the way
Yeah.
that they seen it. But I remember my dad saying that, you know, because they had their own political opinions and the likes. He said that just because we have one particular opinion doesn't mean that you will develop your own opinion. As long as you're not voting for the Conservative Party, I'm not having that in the house. But that's another rant. But
Yeah, it's like you were given the right to vote, and for a long time minorities, like myself and like like myself, like African American people, like indigenous people and Asians and stuff like that, we just couldn't vote. We weren't allowed to. And it wasn't within until the last, within the last 50 years that we were able to do so. And, there is a lot of things in place that have been in place since before the civil rights that are still being used in tactics to keep us from voting. So yeah, it's really important that you vote, that you go out, go early, get your absentee ballot, make sure that you are registered to vote, actually go out to find out where your polling place is and vote. Because take it from someone who lives in Georgia, where like about 1,000, I think it was 1,000 plus voter names of the people that live here mysteriously disappeared. And so when they went to the polling places to vote, they couldn't because the person that was in charge of the voting office was also the person who was running for governor. And so he was in charge of all of those voting registrations, and they just disappeared. And it just so happens that it was African Americans whose names had disappeared. So
Well, and
vote.
and another point, adding on to the Black, Indigenous, people of color thing, is women, especially women, need to get out there and vote, because we've only had voting rights for what, it was like 1910, I think, is when women were allowed to vote.
Yeah, but it was white women.
Well, I
It
mean, yeah,
it
not
was it was yeah, it was white women first and then slowly everyone afterwards. But
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to take away from one or the other. Just saying, as women, especially,
Yeah.
we need to get out there and vote. As a Black, Indigenous person of color, you need to get out there and vote. Basically, what I'm saying is go vote. Which obviously is completely pointless at this point, because by the time you're hearing this, it'll be Thursday. But, and
For future reference.
also, and here's another thing, sometimes it's not the big election that can make a difference, it's the little elections, it's the local elections, it's the Senate and the Congress that come out, like, throughout the next 4 to 6 years. So anytime that you have an option to go vote, because, like, it's those little ones that can make a difference. Because if you have a majority Republican, but you need a Democrat in office overall,
Mhm.
that makes a difference. So yeah, go out and vote for even the small, and even in the small local ones.
Yeah. Same in the UK, guys. I mean, if you're in the UK, doesn't matter if we're, don't have any right to speak about, US election. We're allies at the end of the day. So yeah. And
All in this
certain
together.
orange one does like to come up to my neck of the woods and kind of like throw his weight around.
Yeah.
Got a thing about wind farms. He was
Wait, which orange one? Is it the current orange one from the US, or is it his counterpart in the UK?
No, I wouldn't necessarily say BJ's orange. He's a buffoon. That's what he is. But again, that's that's a whole different rant.
We just completely wiped out all of our UK viewer listeners. Just if some of them like the current person in the UK,
Yeah.
we just completely wiped them out.
I
Just
mean,
like
at the end of
no.
the day, everybody's got their own right to, support who they support. They just, everybody has to be aware that, not everybody's going to have the same opinions, and that's
Yeah.
fine. But I will say there is certain things that, should not be tolerated. And, things like bigotry, hypocrisy, and the likes. It's politics is very complicated.
It really honestly is. So that being said, I say we move on to the other thing that we were going to
Yes.
talk about.
Yes.
Oh, oh, why do you sound far away, Jackie?
I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. I wasn't inhaling my microphone at that moment.
Oh, no, I thought your cat was back on your chest again.
No, not yet. Don't speak it too
Not
loudly. He'll hear
yet.
you.
Okay, a baby, that's what he is.
Big old fat baby is what he is.
Well,
Fur
yeah,
baby.
we're gonna move on. Mostly because, yeah, we're gonna move on. I'm emotionally tired at this point. I'm just like, I'm so
Exhausted.
tired. Yeah, I'm just exhausted. Like, I'm sorry if, Mick, this is for you. Please don't go and tell Benjamin Byron Davis's, but I had to mute Benjamin Byron Davis because it was 20 tweets in 3 minutes, all politics, and I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. My phone is blowing up. I'm about to go into class. I can't. So I had to mute him, and I'm so sorry, but I had to mute him for my mental health at this point because I am avoiding social media, anything that's like politics for today because I'm just so tired. I'm falling apart.
I I haven't muted him, so go ahead. You can go ahead and let him know that I haven't muted him, but I am
Jack,
clearing out notifications as they come in. Like, no, no, no.
Jackie's like, you can tell him we good, Benjamin Byron Davis, and I'm just like, no, we're not good, Benjamin Byron Davis. I'm sorry. I need to mute you for a bit because all my dash is just you. It's just you, just like Benjamin Byron Davis retweeted this. Benjamin Byron Davis retweeted this, and all it is just like politics.
You know, one of
Like stick them up. It's politics time. And I'm just like,
one thing I'm
please.
thinking about, however the election turns out, especially if it, if one side, wins, it's politics in general, like I said. But um, I'm pretty sure we might still have the blimp baby if y'all want to borrow it for any parties or that. Or that was like one of the greatest things. You got to appreciate the humor that we've got coming out of here.
You know what I think is really funny though is the fact of like going back to Benjamin Byron Davis for a second, and ironically my phone just went off beside me, and I'm like, I picked it up, looked at it. I see we're back on Twitter. Anyway, but what I think is so funny is the amount of people that they follow him on Instagram. They follow Benjamin Byron Davis on Instagram or on Twitter, and they will comment, "Oh my God, I can't believe Dutch is a liberal." First of all, did we play
Really?
the same game? Because it was pretty obvious.
It was fairly
Dutch was a
obvious.
full-blown anarchist.
Well, he moved from being like dipping his toes into anarchy every once in a while to like full on anarchy by like Red Dead Redemption 1.
Yeah.
So
So
full
yeah,
on.
like everyone's surprised, and I was like, "Did you actually play the game?"
Surprise! It's kind of how I feel about all the people that are like a couple of months back when we were still in the thick of lockdown, and I know some places are going back into lockdown, but when we were still in the thick of lockdown, so probably about May or so, right when Black Lives Matter it's still going on, but I know the news isn't covering it, but right when Black Lives Matter was like everything that was on the news, the actors and actresses that were in Red Dead were tweeting their support in favor of Black Lives Matter, which, was like, this is great, this is amazing, I love this. And people on like, especially on like Rogers, were like, what? Black Lives Matter? What is this bullshit? And I'm just like, did we not play the same game? They're like, Arthur would never. I was just like, Arthur would.
Arthur would. Arthur did. What are you talking about?
Like,
Yeah, like
y'all never killed any Lemoyne Raiders out in Rhodes.
And clearly they never found
Lying.
the racist in Saint Denis.
yeah, or like
Well,
the
I
Ku
did.
Klux or the Ku Klux Klan in the woods that if you set them on fire or kill them, you do get good points. You get karma for it, good karma for it, and he calls them fucking rats.
Yep.
So yeah, Arthur would. So I'm just like, I don't know who you guys are thinking that Arthur is. If you're playing him as scumbag Arthur, even scumbag Arthur is like, I hate everyone equally, but yeah, this dude's okay.
I mean,
You
I heard.
know?
I
I
hate
mean, I
everyone
heard Dutch.
equally.
I mean, I heard Dutch in camp scolding Bill for being a butthole to Lenny.
That's true.
Yeah, so, and like the amount of times that Charles has like yeeted both Bill and Micah
Greatest science in the game, in my opinion.
across, just yeeted them across the camp. Yeah, sure,
Call that taking out the
totally.
trash.
Yeah, it's very obvious that Red Dead is absolutely conservative, and it came as a complete shock to me that the entire cast would also be very liberal. Like, I'm so shocked,
I'm
so shocked.
so shocked and just so shocked. There
Weird that
are
a game all about outlaws and getting away from the police would be liberal. What?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are some things that people do have a problem with of Red Dead, which is they were like they wished that uh like the Wapiti had more than just that those missions that you do for them, which essentially ends up with them, having to leave and getting hurt and things like that. They wished for more voice for them, that was centered more around their way of life instead of just like we're taking revenge. But I'm just like at that time, at the beginning of the 1900s, it really was a we want to get these guys off of our land.
Yeah.
Mm.
It really had came down to that, and the use of for the horses that had came out recently, the gypsy cob. Because gypsy is a slur for
Mhm.
Romani people, so they're just like, Rockstar, what are you doing? I'm just like, yeah, that's an issue. I know that they're being relatively historically accurate because we didn't stop using that word until like recently, within the
Mhm.
last 20-30 years. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, maybe more than likely you guys probably need to take a step back from being historically accurate and probably name it something else.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the same argument could go for, which, I mean, admittedly, the only, to my knowledge, well, no, I'm trying to think. They use the N word, but I'm trying to think if I know Lenny said it. I'm trying to think if any white character said it.
There was a clip that I seen on YouTube, and it's part of that mission where you're going to clear out Shadywell with Lenny, and it's if you
Yeah.
send Lenny out in front, and he's starts to masquerade as like a traveling preacher or something like that, and that word does come up out of the mouth of one of the raiders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I couldn't remember.
Yeah, it's the really obviously racist, like characters like the Lemoyne Raiders or the Ku Klux Klan.
Michael.
Uh, well, Micah says the doesn't say that word.
No, he
I
says
don't have to.
darkies.
Yeah, he says
That's,
darkies or redskins, stuff like
I mean,
that.
the D word, that's quite a prominent slur, at least in my neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that word. When I first heard it in the game, I thought, ooh,
Yeah, it's a lot of it really is a lot of like I didn't like hearing any of those stuff, especially, and it's sort of uh While the It's kind of funny actually because I have a Tumblr. So there is a Red Dead community on Tumblr. It's mostly made up of, I think, people my age and maybe a little bit younger. Um, and like tail end of like teenage years that, so 20 between like 19 and like 30, I think. And so on there, it was funny. I came across a comment that was just like, well, Twitter Red Dead community is so toxic. But at the same time, they were talking about the community on Tumblr. And I was like, the Red Dead community on Tumblr can be really toxic as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a story that had came out that somebody had written where it was Micah and Javier as having the relationship in the story, but it was not okay. That's the most I can say without this. It wasn't okay because the tags were essentially like Micah was semi-stalking Javier, and that when they were like basically having sex, Micah was calling Javier racial slurs for Mexicans. And Javier was like, "Oh, this is great." And I was just like, "No, it's not great." And their story was people were like, "Oh, I love this story. It's so great." And I'm just like, there is a place for dark fiction. This ain't it, Chief. This isn't a place for dark fiction. Like the whole premise of the story was essentially that Micah had cornered Javier to force him into a non-consensual consensual relationship with him.
Wow.
And the person was on Tumblr defending their work, going, "Well, I don't see anything wrong with it because they were like, I'm his, Mexican or Hispanic or mixed or whatever." And they were just like, "This is fine," but there's a lot of people that are telling them it's not okay. Like this story is not okay. Like we don't like being called that,
Mm.
and if there are some are, then okay, that person likes doing that. But we do not like being in any relationship with somebody who is a racist and will call us that and will force us into being in a relationship with them. Like understand it is dark fiction, but at the same time, it's, there are lines that
Mm.
are drawn around dark fiction where it is like you do not cross these lines in the confines of this. And they had changed the name, and then eventually they had taken it off of archive of our own because I think a lot of people had ended up reporting it. But it was like a really big sort of like stink within that community, within the Red Dead community on Tumblr, because there was also people going around telling others to choke if you were like, "Yes, I see a relationship between like John Marston and Arthur Morgan." They were telling folks to choke, stuff like that, like go die, um, or like Dutch and Arthur. And it's just sort of like it goes from them saying Twitter is really toxic to I'm just like all I'm seeing on my feed is like toxicity. And
Honestly,
I was just blocking folks. I was just well, I wasn't really blocking folks. I was just like, I'm muting this conversation. I'm not even following this person. What are you doing here?
honestly, I had to get off of Tumblr. Um, because I had friends that were very much into the Vandermorgan, which okay, I get it. That's not everyone's cup of tea. That's cool.
Mm.
Yeah.
But like it's a fictional game, and it's like it's it's between two consenting adults that weren't actually biologically related. Not to mention how many fan fictions are out there featuring like Thor and Loki, or featuring this, that, and the other, and their lovers. So it seems a little hypocritical.
Mm.
But like the amount of people that would get downright like violently angry
Yeah.
over Vander Morgan and all that. And it's like like who is it hurting? If you don't like it, then just go on. It's not like, I mean, I understand like the whole Micah Javier story that you were just talking about. Like morally, that one is completely wrong. And while that would fit in certain circles, know your audience kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like my friend would be harassed. Like she would get like anonymous messages talking about like I hope you go kill yourself and all of like how like it's a fictional thing.
I mean, I think I read her work. I really liked her work. Because that's a bit of a guilty pleasure ship for me, even though I'm on the hill to Arthur. That's my preference. But
This is the time where
it's
we find out Benjamin Byron Davis has secretly been listening in the entire time and he's like, Vandermorgan?
don't look it up.
Don't Google it.
Don't look it up. Don't look it up.
You think though, and like doesn't matter. Like I think it's across the board for like any fandom, is when the actors are self-aware when they make it known that they know about the ships. It's like alert, alert.
Look, I'm
Yeah.
just
You
saying.
know?
I'm just saying that during Benjamin Byron Davis's Ask Me Anything on Reddit, at one point someone asked him about the relationship between Dutch and Hosea and whether or not he shipped them or like canonically they were shipped. And he responded, I just had to Google what shipping was. And I went, oh, thank God. And then I went, oh no.
It's like I had to Google that because I didn't know what it was. It was the same, I think, with Noshir. I think Noshir had to Google what shipping was, and then he did get sent like Charles Arthur stories with
I
them,
love Testing
together,
Swans though.
and he was like, these are really well crafted like stuff.
I
Like,
love
of
Testing
course,
Swans.
yeah, like he had put like a video on Instagram where he's like, like don't like I don't everyone who's going like, well, they would never. He's just like, I mean,
They're not real.
they're not real characters. Like I finished this character and I set him out into the world, and now, you know, that's you guys. And he was just like, just keep doing what you're doing. I like the stories. And so everyone was just like, he said yes. Go. Go.
Right, all the fan fiction. No, and he actually did bring that up in the recent podcast that he did with Kylie.
Yeah.
Because they both Kylie and Noshir and pretty much everyone actually agrees that like they did work on these characters and they did build them, but once they were released into the world, they kind of became ours. They became the fans, and it's like, in our universe or like when we play the game, it becomes a very personal experience. I saw recently Kylie retweeted something that said, that's why she didn't, like, this person didn't get emotional watching somebody else play because it wasn't her Arthur. We're
Yeah, I
technically
think
playing
that
the same
too.
character, but
Mm.
in those moments when you're fishing with one of the gang members, it's you and Arthur and whoever that gang member is. It's you and Micah fighting on the cliff. It's
I mean,
so on and so forth.
prime example is like I could watch, people's playthroughs of Red Dead, but if I like and have no reaction to it, but if I watch back my own footage that I've got captured on my PlayStation, the final mission in Chapter 6, if I watched back my footage for it, I would bawl my eyes out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because at the same time, my brain's thinking, that's your Arthur, that's your horse. So good, you remember, it's like you remember the gut feeling that you got when you done that, and you damn
Mhm.
well will feel it again.
Well, and it's actually really funny that we kind of fell back into that conversation because, like, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was like this game is 2 years old, guys. Like it just
Yeah.
turned 2. We celebrated that. Not was it this past or the episode before?
Last week, wasn't it?
It was last Monday.
It was okay. So yeah, we
Yeah.
just celebrated the 2-year anniversary. Our little baby is 2 years old now, And there are new friendships being formed. There are people that are just now discovering the game. I was in GameStop the other day and there was this young boy, he was probably about 14, and he had talked his soon to be stepdad, I overheard all of this, into buying him Red Dead Redemption because he had seen so much about it and he had seen so much of the community and how positive they were, and he wanted to be part of it. And it's like, we did that, guys. Look what we did. Look what we've done. And case in point, I'm part of a group on Facebook called Humans Will Pack Bond with Literally Anything. And it's true. And human pack bonding is really dumb. But someone made mention of their horse on Red Dead and it how they had pack bonded and even went so far as to they played to the end and then they went back to a previous save to get their horse. And we forgot to do it again. I'm going to put it at the beginning of the episode this time. Warning, the following episode contains spoilers for Red Dead Redemption 2. But
it's like we were quiet, so then you're like, cut and shift
and scene. But yeah, like I think that's such an amazing thing, is just seeing this community and how it's like there are people that have dropped out of it, there are people that have they're not as active, but for the most part this community is getting stronger as the years go on. We're like a fine wine.
Yeah, we're getting better with age.
Better than spoiled milk.
Yes. Yeah, there are some people that write for different fandoms, but their first fandom would have been Red Dead Redemption, the first game of John. And then, it's been 10 years since that, and then Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, and they played that, and they were like dusting off their saddles, putting on their cowboy hats, checking their boots, and they were just like, looks like it's time to ride into the sunset again, folks. And they were just like, it's that time again. And they just started writing like Red Dead Redemption, like fan fiction again. And it was just like, we got John, we got pre Red Dead Redemption 1 John. This is gold. And we have a new character who's also gold. I see so much. There is so much in the future that I can see. And I shared, I'm first, I'm really happy that you guys liked my story, that you gave me so much positive feedback on it.
And can we just talk about that editing though? That editing was on point.
Yes, we're gonna talk about Jackie's editing. Editing was great. I was like, I don't have to talk about my story at all. Jackie's editing was amazing. But yeah, it's I'm really glad you guys like it, but the ship that I write for is very small. When I started there was probably only 9 stories. Now there's like 13, but that's because it's me and one of my other friends who are writing. We're the only people that are just writing for this, and because all of the other people that wrote for it have dropped out and gone on to other fandoms, and it's because it's sort of like what happened with your friend Jackie, where she was getting hate, and it was mostly because she was getting hate for shipping Arthur with a black woman. And there's not a lot of like for that for some reason. There's a lot of like for Arthur and Charles, for instance. There's a lot of like with that, but if for whatever reason, if someone was just like, well, I want to ship Arthur with like a black OC character that's modeled after me or modeled after a friend or modeled after whatever, or I want to ship Arthur and like Tilly, it's like, oh no, Arthur would never go for like that type of deal. And so what ended up happening was that they got so much sort of just like flack. They're just like, well, I guess we're just going to go to a different fandom, like we're just going to shift over because nobody really likes us. And so it's sort of, like I'm just now that the game is 2 years old because they started writing when the game had first came out. And so now that the game is like 2 years old, there's sort of like this resurgence of like different people coming from different backgrounds who are writing more stories of, Arthur with like minorities and people of color and things like that. And it's more, everyone is looking for it. They're just like, I'm so glad that this is here because it reminds me so much of my own life or, things like that. It's more positive now.
Hmm.
Um, for myself, I'm sort of just I'm so busy. I got to take a step back from writing for my ship again. I had to take a step back because I'm just like I can't write anything right now because I'm doing I'm doing playwriting, I'm doing creative writing for fiction. I have like classes and work, so like after I post two more like one shots that I have within like one of my collections, it's just going to go quiet for me for a while. And so my friend is going to be the only person who will be updating her story. And then she's like, after that, I'm going to write another story for another fandom. But I don't know if I'm going to be posting anything for that ship. And it's just because we're the only two people kind of fueling it.
Mhm. So basically, what you're saying is the ship has not sunk, but it is temporarily docked.
Yes, it's temporarily docked. And I'm just like, I'm just, I don't feel like anybody is going to be too remiss if I stop posting like stuff. They'll just be like, oh, like they'll move on because there's at least one active story. But I'm just like, yeah, my stuff's not super popular. It's there for you to read it. So I'm okay with leaving it there for you to read it while I go and finish what I need to do and then I'll come back because I am working on something. It's not like I'm stopping completely. I am working on like several other stories just for that fandom, just for that. But I haven't done anything, and that's why I'm stopping because I haven't finished anything. And I'm just like, I like posting when I finish stuff. I don't like posting and then forgetting about it to not update for like years.
Yeah, when I was younger, I used to write a lot of fan fiction, but I won't lie. I Cuz you and I especially are of the generation where like it was really really shameful. We were shamed almost for writing fan fiction, and I think it's awesome that to a degree has finally kind of calmed down. Fan fiction is
Mm.
more of the norm than anything else. So it's like I still have to battle with my brain sometimes when it comes to fan fiction because it's like, no, this is real writing. But you spend years having everything that you write shit on because that's not real art. That's not real writing. How can you call yourself a
Yeah.
writer when you write fan fiction? You know? Like I had a
Yeah.
fantastic fan fiction. Look, I'm gonna call myself out real hard on this one, and it's total cringe, and everyone can laugh, and it's fine. Um, I loved Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka, so I had a Johnny Depp Willy Wonka fan fiction going for a while.
Oh. Oh. Oh God. Thank God.
What?
I thought you were gonna say really cringe. I thought you were gonna say that you ship two real life people together. You're part of that fandom.
No, 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 no.
Oh, that's why I was like, oh, thank God. But okay, go on.
I,
Willy
I,
Wonka.
I thought you were
Okay.
like, I thought you were fixing to shit on Gene Wilder, and I was like, God, we about to have a fight. I will take you out back. We will fight about this. Gene Wilder is
No.
Gene Wilder is the best. But and then you're like, oh, that. It's like, oh, okay. So we both just had a oh thank God moment.
if you can hear, Jackie is threatening to murder me.
I never said that, and for legal reasons, this is a joke. But no, I wrote like a really really good Willy Wonka fan fiction, and I ended up making a really really good friend out of it. I
Mhm.
still remember her name. I don't remember what her screen name was or anything like that. And like it's weird because I find myself thinking back, and I wonder like how she is, and I hope things went well for her, and I hope that life gave her what she wanted, and I hope that she's surviving 2020 as best she can. Her name was Elisabetta. She was from Russia,
Mhm.
and we even had like little nicknames for each other and all of that. And it's how like how can anyone shit on fan fiction as a whole, and like being part, like strongly part of fandoms and all this, when you can create such meaningful relationships with people that years later you still go, man, I wonder how they are.
Hmm. I mean, I made a good friend through supernatural fan fiction, albeit I've not written anything for it in a while. Um, I used to post things on fanfiction.net. Um,
Mhm.
I started when I was still in high school at the
Oh,
time.
baby.
I was still a bub at the time. Still kind of looked like a bub, depending on how you take it. Baby face, it's a curse. But no, I made a really good friend out of it. So hi Brittany, if you're listening. And another shout out. Hi Adam. Since you
Hi,
messaged
Adam.
since you messaged me earlier on Facebook saying that you've been listening to this, so hi. Remember that time my mom near enough guillotined my dad with the carpet? Yeah, yeah, that was funny. Poor dad. Poor dad.
But yeah, it's amazing how much positivity just if how much positivity a community can have that can
Agreed.
influence you to start making things for that community, and then it attracts more people and more people come and they all start making stuff, and then it becomes like this whole sort of like very large family. um sort of like how we came together as we all came together because we had the love of a game, and then we started talking to each other within the community, and then we started playing games together, and
Mhm.
now we're here all married.
Wait, we
We
got
are
married?
family. I got all my sisters with me. I don't even know if that's how the bloody song goes, but
Close enough.
Yeah,
ta-da!
yeah, but it's amazing how much positivity a community can have to sort of form this family, and how much we all come together. And I know that we mentioned it before in like the first podcast episode about it, how much it was just like just amazing in general. Um, but yeah, it's just uh to go back to what we were saying about the actors and actresses that played in this game, it's they all are like, yeah, we did this, but now when we released it, it's yours, that's your baby, you take care of it. And just them in general are pretty amazing people. Like recently, like Nashir was with his wife, Sharon. uh I want to pronounce her last name. I want to pronounce it Muti. Muthu? Muti? Muti? Mm, I'm so
Uh,
sorry. Don't, Mick, don't tell her that I mispronounced her last name. Don't tell her.
why do I get this feeling? Look, okay, I've said this before, and I'm gonna say it again. I get this really weird feeling that we have ended up in at least one Zoom call.
Oh, God, I hope not.
We have either as a group or individually. Don't worry, if it's individually, I guarantee you it was me. And I guarantee you it was, oh shit, that crazy one's back. Yep, that's
Crap, I've never
me.
been singled out at birthday parties, let alone that. So
Oh
It's
God,
me. I'm back. I'm the crazy one.
I hope not. But yeah, Nashir and his wife Sharon, they're both trained actors and actresses. They both did voice acting and performance capture. Recently, Sharon was um, Dr. Bellum in Carmen Sandiego.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Nashir is also in Star Wars now.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Star Wars and a couple other games like Gears and Sekiro and, Ghost of
he's in
Tsushima. He
Spider-Man.
played like a little character.
He was in Spider-Man. I heard him in Spider-Man.
Is he in Spider-Man?
Yep,
Can
he's
we
in
can we get a
Spider-Man.
can we get a confirmation? Like yeah,
Yeah,
he
because
was
his
also
name's in the credits.
in The Last of Us too. The Last of Us Part 2, he was like
Was he?
he was the guy who was when you're walking through the town as Ellie when you get woken up in the morning to go on guard duty, he was the man who was going like, who was
Well,
like,
I
I know
heard
that you're
his
good for it.
voice.
Yeah, and he also did all of the gun reloading, the weapon reloading. He did all of that.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what he was talking about
I
on the
thought I heard his
podcast.
voice in it. I thought I was
Yeah.
tripping out.
I think it's really
But yeah,
funny. Like there's a couple of voice actors like that. Just to kind of take away from your point for 1 second, there's one in particular, and like I can recognize his voice before I can't remember his name to save my life, but I can recognize his voice, and I'm just like, is that guy? And I go look it up. Sure enough, it is. And it's like
if
it's really odd because it kind of becomes like an old friend kind of situation. It's like, it's you again. Hello.
is that guy? It's that guy, isn't it? Yeah, it's just like the Nolan North and Troy Baker.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like Nolan North is in almost everything, and Troy Baker as well. So and Yuri Lowenthal is also in a bunch of those things as well. So it's just like
Brilliant in Spider-Man.
yeah, like you hear those voices and you're just like, I know that person.
Well,
I know it, you know.
the guy in particular, I'm gonna be typing while I'm talking, so I may pause randomly in awkward situations. But he played Matt Miller. There he is. He played Matt Miller in Saints Row, and so every time I hear his voice, I'm like, "Is that Matt Miller? Is that Matt Miller again? Is that Matt Miller?" His name is Yuri Lowenthal.
If
Yeah, I
nobody's
just
played
said his
Spider-Man yet,
name. He was in Spider-Man.
Yeah,
play Spider-Man. Because I've just pre-ordered the Miles Morales sequel. So
Hmm.
who knows, I might be streaming that. Who knows? Because
ooh,
Who knows? Whenever it comes
Miles,
out.
I love Miles. Miles is adorable. He's my boy. You
Yeah,
need to protect Miles. Yeah.
his comics are really good. So if you are a Spider-Man fan, I would recommend. If you like the game, I would recommend reading the comics for Miles because it goes into more of his backstory and how he came to be.
Mm.
And I know that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is getting a sequel. So if you haven't already watched that animated one, you should watch it. It's really good as
His
well. Like, yeah, he's really great. But yeah, like all of these actors and actresses and stuff like that are just they're amazing. Because Sharon, she sings and she also was, in theater and things like that before she started doing voiceovers. And she said she during the podcast for Let's Play, if nobody's listening to it, you should. It's like really great, like episodes and things like that. It's one of the other inspirations for this podcast. They're more structurally organized than we are. We are herding cats, but you should listen to them because they're one of the inspirations. But she had talked about she's part of a organization that talks about skin, like dark is beautiful.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And it's for because she's from India, like that's where she's from, to her parents and things like that. And the thing with it's the same thing that happens here in the United States and I think all over the world, but women that have darker skin than what you would see on TV are usually passed over for roles in favor of somebody who is a lighter skin color. And she had said that that is something that had happened to her, is that they had passed her over because she didn't look the way that they were going for the show. And at first she was confused, but then she got angry because she's just like, how dare they? You know, like I grew up. That is me. Just because my skin isn't lighter, I am darker. You know, I am dark skinned. Just because my skin isn't lighter doesn't mean that I'm automatically not, you know, that I can't portray this character because I have dark skin. And it is something that happens here because, if you watch anything that has Hispanics in it, like either they're Colombian or Mexican or I don't know, from Honduras or from Puerto Rico or Cuba, they're always like very light skin. They almost, they look like they have very light tans, but they're very light skin. As opposed to someone like me who is like 2 or 3 shades darker. And I am like, you know, I have gotten comments growing up like surprised that they found out that I was Hispanic. And I'm just like, last name Spanish speaking. What else would you like for me to say to make you believe that I'm Hispanic, And it is sort of that thing because it's always if you're dark skinned, you are usually portrayed as being a drug lord or a thug or just a bad person. And
And
so
and
yeah, her,
one of the things she mentioned was it wasn't just like it wasn't whitewashing Hollywood. I mean, that is a huge part of it, but the other part is
yeah.
like Indian culture kind of perpetuates that.
Yeah. It's like I saw a documentary about it where all of the folks in Bollywood, not that they were bad actresses or actors, all of them are very, very lighter than what the actual real population of that may come from that area. Like they're portraying somebody who comes from an area where predominantly everyone is like very dark skinned.
Mm-hmm.
And that at some point, I don't know if it's still going on now, but at some point it is still an issue of like caste system of like dark skinned people are considered, in a lower caste than ones that are lighter color.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't see a lot of them in movies unless they're playing as like the servant or
Or a
they're playing
villain.
as they're playing as a villain or they're playing as a servant or they're playing as
I just
a
wonder what
background character.
culture. I just wonder what culture introduced that colorism. I wonder.
Hmm.
I wonder. I wonder
Hmm.
who. I wonder who.
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah, the
know.
Brits.
It's the
The Brits. The
mystery.
Brits probably introduced that. So.
It's a mystery. I guess it's one of those mysteries of the world. I guess we'll never figure
Oh,
out. England. Sorry.
yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things. It's just I hate that it happens. And I hate that, like people try to downplay it. And so with the actors and actresses like having all these causes that they support in Red Dead that are just this is what I'm supporting, this is the hill that I will die on, like this is a hill that I would defend and die on, like just it's just amazing just how much they are an inspiration essentially. I know we're not saying that they can do no wrong, they're not saints, no, but they
Yeah.
are an inspiration because they are essentially sticking to their guns
Mm-hmm.
on what they believe in and how their outlook on the world. And as much as I could go on and on about it, I don't want to like take up whatever remaining time we have if we've already gone over. Oh
No, yeah.
no,
Interesting.
we have it. This is great.
Well, funny thing is, I was going to make a point, so we are indeed going to go over. But yeah, throwing back to the podcast with Sharon, she actually brought up a really good point that kind of that resonated with me. Is she was talking about the fact of it, like her voice. She has a very deep voice for a female, and that kind of falls into the same typecasting that we were just talking about of like as a woman we're supposed to sound a certain way on top of looking a certain way, and as a person who naturally has a deep voice, like I can say like it's like that's hard. um uh Hang on, there we go. um I did smoke for 15 years, so that probably didn't help my cause at all. But even before I started smoking, like I was singing in the choir in school, and my voice was I was naturally an alto, but I could dip down into tenor and high bass. And we only had like two tenors and one bass in our choir. It was a very small choir, and so they like the teacher would pull people from the alto section to sing tenor and bass. And so there were multiple times where I was sitting in the back with the tenors and the bass, and people thought that was incredibly odd for a girl to be sitting in with the tenors and the bass and be able to keep not only keep up but be on point with it. And you do get really self-conscious about it when you're young, but after a while you realize, hey, deep voices are really sexy.
That is the point we want to make. Goodbye, everyone.
Deep voices are sexy. Bye.
Bye. Um,
Bye.
yeah, I mean, I don't know why it's such a thing, like I have curly hair. I wear it straight or I wear it curly. But the whole there's like a whole thing where it's um especially with black women and their hair where they're just like no curls, nothing like that. It needs to look like this or else you're considered unprofessional. And I'm just like, but it's our hair. Either way, it's professional. Like you have people that have really curly hair, but it's not considered unprofessional. But if you were a minority, it is. And I just growing up, I never got it. I never got the reason why. And now that I'm an older, that I'm older and I understand the whole reason why is just like the whole reason why behind it is that they just didn't like it. They're just like, well, we don't like your hair. We want it to be more like ours because we don't understand it or we don't like the way it looks. Or the whole thing in the South here where it's like because we think it's dirty,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
No, and honestly, I think that's one of the positive changes that websites like YouTube and so on. I think that's one of the positive things that they have done is people that normally would have been looked over in the industry, in the entertainment industry, now have a platform, because like I have found some of the most amazingly talented artists that never would have made it in the industry, quote unquote, because they just didn't look a certain way, they didn't act a certain way, they didn't sound a certain way,
Yeah.
and they released their talent to the world, and the world just gobbled them up and just like adored them. And it's like that kind of makes you have to wonder, like, maybe we're putting too much emphasis on the way that people look and the way that people sound. Maybe we should start focusing on their talent.
Mm.
I know that's such a wild concept to consider.
Oh, it's crazy.
Weird.
Times I would be used as a biological example for the recessive gene in biology. My God. I got very old very fast.
Yeah.
It still baffles me if people didn't, if people that I went to high school with, if they didn't recognize me, and if I would know who they were, but if they said, "Do I know you?" It's like, yeah, you were in my class for like 6 years. Was one of the only three gingers in the entire year. Not that hard. You remember me, surely. I was the one that was sitting in the back of the classroom, quiet, just doodling away in my homework diary. Oh, yeah, is that you? Yeah, yeah. Pretty sure one of you lobbed a dictionary at my head. For some reason. I don't know why, but it missed. I know that much, but.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Like I hate that it happens, but it's I want to say that it's better. In some ways it is than it was a few years ago, than it
Mhm.
was maybe 5 years ago. There are still a lot of problems. A
Oh yeah.
lot of problems. But there are some things that are gaining track that are a lot better than they were before, especially, you know, especially within our communities that I guess this whole episode is winter is coming and vote. Because how the only way for things to get better is for us essentially to exercise our rights and to know our rights
Mhm.
and to step up and go, no, that's not correct. No, we're not accepting this. This isn't, we aren't accepting the icons of the old. We're gonna blaze our new path. And it's such an inspiration to see just the people in general, just especially within the Red Dead community, how much of us have so many things that we care about, that we are like, we want to see this grow and want to see this change, and we want to make sure that we inspire other people,
That's true.
um, just to do better. Do better, everyone.
Do better, be better, vote better. Ta-da!
Ta-da! If Benjamin Byron Davis is still listening, if he was listening, there you go. I've made up. I've made up for saying that I muted you.
I think he's used to it.
Don't worry,
That was
I'll
a
turn it
hard
back
question.
on.
Don't worry, sir. We'll turn it back on. I promise.
We'll turn it back on. I'll come back for you. Promise.
No man left behind, even if he just blows up Twitter for an hour.
In like 2 weeks, once all of the votes are tabulated, I'll come back for you.
I'm kind of thinking that, whatever way the result ends, I'm picturing it in my head. If you've ever seen Big Brother, like when they announced whoever's getting evicted, just picture like the White House. Like this is a reference to the old UK Big Brother. So anybody that's from the UK, you'll understand this reference. It's like, this is Davina. You are live on Channel 4. Please do not swear. Donald, you have been evicted. Please leave the White House.
I mean, accurate.
Yeah. Yay for anybody in the UK that gets that reference. Americans will be thinking, what? Who's Davina?
We're used to it.
Yeah. So we swear, guys, we're not gonna continue. Well, I'm not gonna swear, but we'll probably have other political episodes later where we just talk about it, and we we'll try to rein it in a little bit,
Yeah.
but it's okay.
And
It's
if we
fine.
ever if
It's
we ever get Benjamin Byron Davis on our podcast, like, hold on tight, y'all.
hold on tight, hold on to your butts, y'all, because about to get it's about to
Gonna
get
get
political up in
it's
here.
gonna get real blue in here for a little while. But actually, it's really ironic because the whole discussion we just had about Red Dead was actually kind of inspired by um, a cameo that I bought. He didn't give to me, but that I got, um, where he was talking about how amazing it is that 2 years later we as a community are still growing and still strong, and the friendships that have been formed that are still continuing to grow and still like it really is profound, and I have to agree with that. So Mick, you can go and tell him that we said that instead. How about that?
Can I do an encore? Can I do an encore? We are family. And that is my singing career.
It's
And
wonderful.
Simon Cowell impression. It's a no from me. It was a really bad impression, but
It's a no from the judges. No, was where are your carrots? Gordon Ramsay. Gordon Ramsay says no.
I could try and do a Ramsay impression. What the fuck was that?
that was a good one. That was a good one.
It was good. Yeah. Keep doing it. Keep working on it.
Yeah.
And then next time we can, when you do the greeting, you can be Gordon Ramsay.
Fucking donkey. Again, bad impression.
There is
Hey,
one.
at least.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say at least it's better than than my impressions. What? Almost dropped my phone. At least it's better than my impressions.
There's a UK comedy series called Mock the Week. I used to watch it years ago. It's my opinion, it's not the same now since several of the comedians left. It's a bit like Whose Line. There's one comedian on it called Hugh Dennis, and he always does the best impression of the Queen. And they're like something like there's like a round it's called Scenes We Like to See. And all the comedians go up and it's like improv. And the host brings up the question, things that was omitted from the Queen's annual Christmas speech. And then Hugh Dennis just comes up and goes, "Have you been injured in an accident that wasn't your fault?"
I think we should end it there. Have you been injured in an accident? It wasn't your fault. And just
We're paying too much for car insurance.
that's how we're gonna end it with Nicola's Queen.
Questions for any impressions you want me to do next time. I'll try. Go broke, everybody.
While you were doing that, I was trying to find a video that it was like words that are hard for Scottish people to say, but
Hell, you can even get me to like recite some Scottish tweets. I mean, yeah, who knows?
There we go. Nicola, I'm going to type something to you in our group chat. I want you to say it. Don't listen to the video because it will play on the podcast. But I'm going to type out a word. Well, 3 words.
Okay, I've put the volume down on my phone. Okay. Any specific reason why this?
Because it's just
okay, I'll try. I don't see why this will be funny, but I'm sure you'll let me know. Purple burglar alarm. I don't understand, but okay.
One more time and make it broad.
Purple burglar alarm.
And scene. And now say goodbye as the Queen, and we'll end the episode.
Goodbye, peasants.
Thank you for joining us around the campfire. We'd like to thank Brett Van Donsel for providing the music, and you can find more of him on his website at brettvandonselmusic.com. You can find us on Twitter at CameoGang1899 and on YouTube at Around the Campfire Podcast. This is Catherine, riding off, and we'll see you around, cowpoke.